What's up, peoples? What's up? What's up? Arthur, sir, glad you are here. Glad you are here because your question has made the question of the day. I am glad you are here, really. Man. So, peeps, just tell me what you've been up to. And, let me dim that for a minute. Just, Trusty student got my wine and he ready to learn. Y'all are cool, man. I appreciate all of you being here. Really, I do. Forever Lows. Peace. What's up, peace, my brother? Peace, peace, peace. It's good to see you all. Yeah. But Arthur, I am really am glad you are here. I am. I'm very excited to hear what Mr. Henry thinks. I went with the UA Apollo stuff. Apollo, all excellent choices, Arthur. But we gotta talk today, brother. We gotta talk. And this is in love, so I'm not beating you up, but we gonna talk. We gonna chat in a little bit. What's up, Mr. Pirate Brain? What's up, Black Drum Hippie? My brother, Black Drum Hippie, is in the hizzy. What's up, man? Good to see you, man. I hope you all are staying safe, man, with these people, man. I mean, it's getting a little crazy out there, man. It's getting a little crazy. You know, so just stay safe, by and large. We're not going to talk politics, but, it sucks the time that we're in, and something's got to be done. And that's the bottom line. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I hope if you are protesting, please protest peacefully. Don't go around like, you lost your mind breaking things, because what does that achieve in the end? Absolutely nothing. So I'm off the soapbox with regards to that. But Mr. Smooth. Yo, I like that name too. Oh yeah, very intelligent, down to earth, always gives us great, real, honest, and truthful. Hey, my brother, I appreciate you for saying that, man. So, what we're gonna do, and I gotta realize that there's a delay, so I'm gonna just, pump my brakes for a minute. Yeah, Mr. Black Drum Paper said, hope all is well. Yeah, man. Brother's getting a little tired of being on lockdown. I've known a few criminals in my life, and I don't know how they get through it, B. I'm sitting up in here like, but then again, when you go outside, it's like, you almost like you paranoid looking over your shoulder because everybody running around with a mask on, you don't want nobody breathing up on you and stuff. I don't want nobody breathing on me. And the city is crowded, man. Even if you go to the park, man, everybody out there like it's normal times. These ain't normal times, yo. So, keeping those things in mind. Trustee said, I'm a UAD user. Good for you. We're going to talk about that today, man, because I got my socks blown off this week with them, man. Our brother, he dive, he be diving deep. I be going deep because, I come from a point in time where specs were king. Nowadays people just reach for the shelf and pull the latest and greatest off. I'm not that guy. I got to know what's, going back to the mac. I got to know what's in the mac and cheese, And UA is doing things. And like I said, they've always been one of my favorite companies, but I didn't know they had it like that, So, yeah, man, we got to connect, man. I'm going to. Okay, yeah, do that, B. Do that. I like that. I really would appreciate that if you Black Drum Hippie. Yeah, man, most definitely. Because I was digging what you was doing too, man. Your setup and everything, and you got some. This boy's a nasty drummer, boy. Dude, he got some stuff, man. I've seen a whole lot of drummers in my time, but this is one brother that y'all really need to check out. Black Drum Hippie, nasty. And I advise a lot of the youngsters too. If you're getting into remote recording, take your setup seriously, because when people are purchasing your services, they're buying the whole package. And there's a whole lot of people on YouTube that are doing it, but I have the thing, if you buy cheap, you're gonna buy it twice. And some of these guys that are providing remote recording services for people, most definitely, brother, most def, no, definitely. I don't say stuff just to be saying it, man. Like I said, I've seen them all, man, and some guys are really taking it to a whole nother level, and we need more young brothers like yourself, that got decent chops and can get good services to people. You look at great drummers like Ricky Lawson, God rest his soul, when he was he had one of the best recording facilities in LA, based on him being a session drummer for so long. So I think the guy that takes it up a notch, is the guy that's gonna always get the call, And it's funny thing, because I'm no great drummer, you know what I mean? But I beat out a lot of guys because I always had the equipment. I had a car, when I was doing wedding gigs, I had a car. I had more than one kit. I had a jazz kit. I had an actual, R&B kit. So it was like, well, who do you call? You gonna call the guy without a kit who's relying on backline, or you gonna call the guy with the kit, with the car, who can get there in time? And I'll give you a story. One time I got a call, good friend of mine, rest his soul, Eric Huff. He played on my last my only record that I did as an artist. But rest his soul. He calls me up one day. It was like mid Saturday afternoon. He's like, yo, man, I got this gig. This is a wedding gig. It was paying crazy money. The money was insane for just, you're going to be there all day, but the money was insane for one day's worth of work, right? So I show up. My man is like, okay, good. You got you got your tux, you got everything, but he said, okay, just go over to the area. It was a nice catering hall, set up the drums, we'll do a sound check. So I get there, I set up, I'm all ready to go. We did the sound check, we all at the table chilling. Here come the drummer walking in with his kit in his hand, drums stacked up. So I looked over at Eric. I was like, yo, if I got to tear down, I'm charging him half for the day and gas and everything. So Eric went and told the band leader, and the band leader was like, nah, my man is already set up, B, you got to roll. So the dude showed up all late with his drum. Who shows up at a gig with the drums in their hand? I mean, good God, buy some cases, bro. He showed up, drum stacked high. He rushing, sweating, ain't got the tuxedo on. And I'm like, if I got the roll, I'm charging them half for the day. And I think that day, the pay was $450. And we were gonna be there for a while. Like you got to do the first dance and all that other stuff. And then we had the pre, whatever that they do. You playing the music for them, like cocktail hour and things like that. I didn't get out of there till like 11 at night after being there for like 3. But the paycheck for the day was like about $425, $450, somewhere in there. It was good money, And I was like, nah, I ain't rolling all the way out in the middle of nowhere, at this catering hall, and then I got to set up and break down. Nah. So, but it was a good thing. That was it was a good gig, and it was like taking candy from a baby. That was the easiest money we jammed. All we did was jam and do the electric slide, the dance, and the first dance for the couple as well. But yeah, but with that in mind, the overarching point is that you got to make sure that your stuff, if you're a pro, that you're on top of everything, because there may be guys that got, better facility at doing what they're doing than you. But if you have the whole package, that's the guy that's getting the call. And plus, you can't be a drag to be around also, showing up with your drums in your hand. That's not cool, B. Anyway, so let's get back to something. And then, Arthur, I hope you are still in the house, because I got to talk to you, my brother. So you just say yay if you're still here, because I'm about to put you on blast for a minute. No, not in a good way, though. In a good way. I just want to educate the youngsters real quick, though. But Gurna, oh man, bro, I need the video of your studio. He got good music. Your music, the music. I got to introduce you all to this guy, man. As soon as he gets his studio tour into me, and there have been a few people that said they're gonna get stuff to me, but I really would like to get see what you guys are working with. Like I told you, it's not about me. It ain't about me, man. I'm interested in what y'all are doing, so we can have intelligent dialogue back and forth. You know. So if we can do that, let's get that video into me, girl. I really want to show people your place. You know, I really do. And I say that because, you know, it's good when people are churning out music, regardless of whether it's on iTunes or not. Not important. Or if it's on Spotify or not. It's not important. It's the fact that if you're turning out good music in your space, that's what's most interesting to me. You know, and I'm finding that there are a lot of people who are doing that. Lions King, hey brother, glad you are here. You know, Black Drum Hippie says he's a huge fan of my work. What? I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the love. And it's reciprocal. You know, it's reciprocal, man. We're in the same fraternity. You know, the fraternity of drummers. You know, so I'm gonna look out for you and I'm gonna promote you and put you forward, man, because that's what it's about, man. Each one teach one, as well as support one, you know. So I appreciate each and every person being here. Oh, Mr. Smooth said, I just sold my Apollo interface. Why? You got to tell me. I would like to know, what are you getting, you know, in lieu of it, you know what I mean? I'd like to know. Trusty Susan says he's a UAD user, so let's get it. Yes, sir. Okay, but before we okay, my brother. Okay. Before we get deep into that, I want to address a question that was sent to me. And I'm saying this in love because you know, and I'm not saying this about any one particular person, you know, but I did receive a comment today from rather last week from someone with regards to a video that I did. And you know, I would let me just say it plain. I'll make it plain. If you all have to comment, it's fine to comment. I don't mind comments, but understand that a brother is past 40, okay? A brother been around the block for some time, okay? That's part 2. I ain't gonna get into all the people I know in my resume. That's not important, but the fact is that I was born at night, not last night. So if you have to comment, do some research before you do. And never start your comment on anyone's video, mine or otherwise, like this. Never, ever start it with no offense but the whole, or no offense. Never, please. Never start a comment with no offense, because automatically you do intend to offend. That's how I feel. Whenever you have to comment, you start with the positives, and then if you have to offer an opposing point of view, then you do that. But come positively first. Okay? Now, with that in mind, that's out of the way. How to approach commenting. And that's for anyone's video. He says, you think the 500 series is a scam. Think about it. They're making you buy a box and then put units in the box. One of the top major audio companies do not want to make units for the 500 series, TubeTech, Universal Audio, because jamming actual analog circuits together in a tiny space is not a good thing. It leads to compromises in the signal path. Unfortunately, that is patently false. Patently false. Okay? First of all, anyone want to fact check me, you can. But my first interaction with a rack mountable type of chassis like that was with the DBX 900 series way back in a Unique Recording Studio when they had MIDI City and they have several other facilities all over there on 7th Avenue downtown. But that aside, DBX which was a very highly respected audio electronics company, pretty much started that chassis sort of along with API, the chassis sort of setup with the cards that go into the chassis. Aphex followed suit, offering I think it was the compeller as well as a couple of other of their compressors for the 900 series, the DBX 900 series. Now, when you say that it may be somewhat true about companies not wanting to invest in the technology of 500 series, there's a reason for that. It's just like when Ford has to retool a factory for a brand new car. If your business is making microphones or making other types of components for recording studios, why would you, unless you know you can somewhat corner the market or have a foothold of some sort in the market, why would you, change everything over to accommodate a 500 series product? It makes no sense from a business perspective. So that's the overarching reason why a lot of companies don't get into it. They ain't pulling up their factory setup for something that they may be gambling on. You know what I mean? So keeping that in mind. Now, part two of what you were saying, okay, Tube Tech Universal Audio, okay, that may be somewhat plausible, but jamming actual analog circuits together in a tiny space is not a good thing. Bro, you just described a mixing console. Okay? What do you think a mixing console is? A whole lot of circuits jammed together. You know what I mean? So, you got to think when you're using you may be anti or you may have had a bad experience with 500 series, but that does not damn the whole 500 series community. Don't forget, with that, if you can't afford an API console, guess what it gives you an opportunity to put together? An API channel strip. And then when you want to reconfigure it to be a Neve channel strip, you can. So what other unit on the market right now, from a chassis perspective or configuration perspective, offers you that much flexibility? None. Period. That's why 500 series is here to say it gives everyone the opportunity to tailor your situation to you. Okay? That's part one. Now, like I said, what you described about circuits being all together, that's a console. I mentioned last week, I was at Calliope and a friend of mine just happened to stop in. He had just finished mixing something for a well-known artist at Warner Brothers. And the console that he used was a Sound Workshop 34C. That is by far the most punchiest console I have ever heard. The most punchiest. Why? It's a short form console. The console ain't no deeper than about 30 inches deep. It's not like the SSL or the Neves that are very, very deep channel strip wise. It's very short, very concise, very to the point, and very punchy. The shortest line in a circuit will always give you the purest signal. So I don't know what your experience has been with the 500 series, but with that in mind, you always want the shortest path. The shortest mic cable going right directly. If you can avoid long cable runs, avoid it like the plague whenever you're recording, because that's going to give you the purest signal. As you run things through copper, it becomes a huge resistor. And what that does, if it's a cheap, if you have any compromised component, be it the cable or bad components in the microphone or whatever have you, is going to compromise the signal. So the object is to get as close to the recording medium as possible, whether it's tape, Pro Tools, interface, whatever. You want the shortest run. So that's why the 500 series will never, ever die. It gives you flexibility and it gives you the shortest point between A and B. I said my piece, but I'm going to end it with this. Never start a comment with no offense, because automatically that means that you're coming from a place, for me, of negativity. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. That's fine. But at least address it from the perspective of experience, okay? Tell me what your experiences were, if it were negative, and why. Because one thing I have to say is that you have to be able to troubleshoot. Well, I had this experience. Now, I did buy the Midas chassis, and I sent it right back. Why? Because of the design of the chassis and the way I wanted to use it in a rack system created electromagnetic interference, which was going to cause a problem with and compromise the sound of my signal. I didn't want that. Does that make the Midas chassis bad for everyone? No. I think that's the best bargain out there right now. You know what I mean? So we got to keep these things in mind, man. I mean, if you have to buy equipment, you got to do your homework. You have to know why this piece exists, because it exists for a reason. There's a reason why API is still making them. Okay? So just keep those things in mind. If you had a bad experience, okay. But you have to find out, why did I have this bad experience? Because every, item that goes into the 500 series chassis may be not manufactured to exacting standards, if you will. You know what I mean? Maybe that was your experience. I don't know. But you have to understand that is the shortest point between A and B, and gives you the flexibility to make a Neve console on Monday, an API console on Tuesday, a Trident console on Wednesday. No other component in the studio gives one that much flexibility. None. Okay? So, love you, brother. Ain't no love lost. Okay? But I was born that night, not last night. And I'm going to tell you, if you can get your hand on a 500 series chassis, even if you just have the chassis, it is the most ultimately configurable system out there. I can't think of another. So everyone's mileage may vary. So let's get back to, okay, all right, Shazam is in the hizzy. Okay, yeah. John said he loves his 500 series. Yeah, man. I mean, And Apollo Twin is not good for a hardware user. Okay. But we're gonna talk about that in a minute. And official Stitchell says the Lewitt. Yes, I hope you got your hands on one, brother. Okay, Shazam is in the house. I said, he said, "What's up, big dog? What's up, my brother?" Take my mind over. Hey, yo, bro. I know what you mean, B. It's, I understand. I was talking about that in the beginning. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm glad you're here, man. So let's just talk about some tech stuff and, have a good time. The Gunner. That was the first I knew of the Lunchbox of. The first I knew of. Lunchbox has a good rap. Oh, man. If you're talking about me, man, listen, I could use some of that API money right about now. Brother's finances is getting a little light. Be drinking water for the rest of my life. Forget soda. But anyway, yeah, man, it's getting a little rough. But yeah, I gotta get back to work, man. I mean, I'm telling you, it's like crazy. I'm trying to find new way. And the funny thing, okay, Arthur, I'm glad you're back. All right, cool. No problem. I hope you heard me. I don't hide behind my word, brother. Brother don't hide behind his word. So yeah, I hope you got something from what I was just saying, because it's important. You got to understand, you youngsters, man, I'm telling you, you get your hand on the 500 series, man, I'm telling you, it's the most configurable, period. But I'm going to jump back to that with you in a minute, Arthur. And I'm glad you were here. I just want you to know I appreciate your comment. You understand? I appreciate your comment. But yeah, that is one thing we're going to have to address at another time. If you want to talk more about it, you can direct message me. But yeah, but the Gunner, okay. And also, we are all passionate about our gifts, but talent is for me the most important thing. I'm telling you. Hey, you see what, and I don't know if y'all are looking at the comments, what Analog said. That's true. That's true, B. I'm telling you, man. I'll take musicianship over equipment any day of the week. I don't care. Because I've seen some uber untalented folk in the studio like, huh? I told you about the time girlfriend, it was back in like the 90s, but she could sing though. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna call her name. No, she can hammer. She was one of the top in New York back in the 90s for like you call for session singers. She was like one of the top girls. But we were doing a record and we got to the choruses. So we laid all the choruses down. I was working in Cubase at the time. We laid all the chorus parts down. And she's like, okay, I'm finished. I'm like, you finished? I was like, no, we got second verse we got to do. She's like, you ain't got that thing? I'm like, what thing you talking about? The thing. You know, you hit it and it just... She was talking about the Akai S900 at the time. Everybody was flying vocals in. I was like, nah, I ain't got that. I don't have that. I said, you got to cut these joints from the ground up. So she wasn't too happy about that. But yeah, man, musicianship. I'll take it over technology any day of the week. There's people that rely heavily on, you know, fixing stuff in the mix. That's nice, but you better get it right going in. I'm telling you, because some things just can't be fixed, man. Talent being one of them. You the frustration level that you can get from some musicians, because, you know, you get this vibe sometimes that some people are, there's two types of musicians that I've come across in the studio. Those that want to get in and get out, I've had those. And those that will sit with you all day until it's right. It's not that they're making mistakes. It's just that they want to give their top-notch performance. And those are the guys that you have to love and appreciate. You know, technology aside, because like when I did with the first time I met Melody Red, I think it was she called me and 2 hours later we were recording, okay? She banged the part out in an hour. 1 hour time. 2 takes. Done. And we sat around talking about other stuff after a while. That's the thing, man. You know, you can't beat talent. You can't beat talent, B. So yeah, Analog, we are passionate about gear, but talent is the most important thing. Yeah, that's true. Oh, here's a good one. Gerner says, yeah, you talking about Tough Debt. Yeah, we got to have a little chat about that too. Oh, Mr. Smooth said he bought an Antelope 32. Yo, that is killing. They are killing. Oh, Arthur, you said you had a Midas chassis and it failed. Full of gear 2400. Oh, yeah, I mean, you know, listen, I understand. You know, everything that and my mother used to say, everything that glitters sometimes ain't gold. And that's true. That's why I say everyone's mileage may vary. I had a similar situation. What did I do? I sent it back. Period. It didn't work for me. Now, for some people, it works. In an environment where you have a lot of stuff happening, like I have a lot of equipment, and I like my equipment to be functional, and I like it to function in a particular way, that having that power supply in the chassis, it was probably poorly shielded, 1, and 2, it was a switching power supply. That's a design thing, you know? Sometimes you can't cut corners. Now, I can guarantee you will not have that problem with an API. I'm telling you from experience. I have both. I have had one and I have the other. The other has an outboard power supply. Solves your problems, you know, but you still can't beat the functionality of it. Can't. That is a point that's, I mean, it could be debatable, but at some point you have to be able to say to yourself that what other component in the studio is going to give you the shortest point between A and B? And there is none. Okay. You said you're a mentor for many French guys like me. Analog, I love you, brother. Love you, man. Lynx for Life said, what did you miss? You miss very much, my brother. Arthur City 48. Okay, my brother. Getting up there. I hear you, bro. Lynx for life. He said, just getting in. Trusty Sue said, you need this mask. That was a gift from a friend of mine. She traveled to Peru. Yeah, she's a world traveler. And a very, very talented set designer. She's done like, Jesus Christmas, over 250 commercials. Just about every. She's done, I think, the progressive commercials. She's with the girl Flo. she's a set designer. She does all this stuff, man. Man, she gets, an opportunity to travel everywhere. Right now, she's working on a documentary about her home country of Miramar, which is going through hell just like we are. So, yeah, but that was a gift from her. Yeah, real cool when she traveled to Peru. Alan, I have the Trident Decadent, and I'm very sorry. Yeah, you got some serious equipment there, man. Serious equipment. And here's a good comment too, and then I'm gonna jump right into the top reason why I switched to Pro Tools HD. Okay, I'm glad to have broken the ice with you all. I really appreciate all of you being here. Please, again, without you being here, I'm sitting here talking to myself, and you know how I feel about that. That's absolutely whack. I ain't gonna be sitting around talking to one person. Okay, so I appreciate all of you all being here, really, and honestly, the dialogue. I appreciate the dialogue. I appreciate the criticism. I'm made out of rubber. I can take it. I will defend myself when necessary. But I really do appreciate you all being here. And let's just steal away for a moment from this craziness that's going on in the world and talk about some gear. But here's a good one from Gerner. He said, you have to have the great performance going in unless you're going to cut it up and make it sound design. That's true. I've had that experience, man. And Malcolm Tough and Trident, I've got... Huh? Oh, snap. Gerner, you serious? See, I don't know if y'all looking at the comments. This man said he knows Malcolm Tough. And he has him as a neighbor. We got to talk, man. We got to talk. As a matter of fact, he was at one of the... And I met him a few AES ago when he introduced not the current iteration of his consoles, but the former iterations of his consoles. A lot of people are, well, we'll talk. Links for Life. What do you give the nod, UAD or Antelope? We're going to get into that. Y'all keep pushing a brother to the summary. I forgot who was it about a couple of weeks ago. Got me straight to the summary with early questions. So I'm going to temper myself today, and we're going to get there in a minute. I'm going to tell you what I think. But the same in the U.S., but you don't have a Pro Tools HD in your... That's... Y'all are dropping gems, man. That's true. Analog making a good point. It's all the same in the U.S., but if you don't have a Pro Tools HD in your studio in France, you don't have a job. Some places, around the world are, industry standard. This is this, and that's the end of it, And Arthur, you say you use all UAD stuff. Cool. Now, the year was 2003. I was working with it. I was really, really busy at the time. For those of you who don't know, I get hired a lot to do independent arranging jobs and for varying clients, whether it's writing lead sheets, parts, whatever the case may be. But this particular time, I had gotten a call to do a project with a fairly well-known vocalist. She was doing demos then for an upcoming album. So I was busy getting all the work together for that. I was in the middle of working with another artist, pianist, smooth jazz artist, Barry D, and another group, All for Seven. A lot of smooth jazz at the time, and a lot of demos for clients, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, I had gotten in the thick of the All for Seven record, which I did not mix, but I did record it at the time. And the producer was a very, very great keyboardist, Jerry Hutchison. He does what I call kitchen sink records. You get some producers that will layer stuff deep, with sounds. And then come mix time, what they'll do, they'll strip things away. That's his workflow. It's always been his workflow. He worked primarily in what was his DAW of choice at the time? I don't want to lie. I'm going to say it was Cubase. Okay, Cubase, and then he switched over to Reason. He started getting into Reason and the software synth thing. Blah blah blah. Okay, that aside. So he brings me all the MIDI files. I load everything into Pro Tools as MIDI. He used to bring regs of synths and everything, and then we would trigger everything into Pro Tools, via Symphony, because that was our workflow for the times that I was working with him. And one particular cut, he had a lot happening, and I put all the tracks out, laid them out, and suddenly I started getting this strange smearing of the stereo field. Now, mind you, I'm only 3 years into recording totally in the box. I didn't jump headlong into that until 2000. This is 4 years, 2004. So it's like started having this smearing sound. So I was like, okay, no problem. Called a friend of mine, told him once. He said, oh, well, he's a California guy. He's like, well, all of us out here, what we do, we clock our systems with a clock. Clock? What's that? He's like, well, digital, when you have a lot of stuff happening digitally, you got to reclock everything. I'm like, what are y'all using? And he told me at the time it was like they were clocking through Apogee converters. Okay. I had already become familiar with Apogee at the time, and I was like, okay, I know that they're a well-known company, no problem. I couldn't afford it at the time, so I just let it roll. We did the record, and someone else went to mix it and had the same opinion. Like, I knew it went down well. I knew I had decent enough preamps and everything. I knew I recorded it well, but it's like, wow, the stereo image is smeared. So I had at the back of my head already, I think that, the system clock, and I was working in a native system at the time. And I'm like, wow, something's up. No problem. I go and visit a friend's session, and this is when Pro Tools PCIe was about to come out. He had a PCI system. And when I tell you, and I sat between the speakers, it was like, oh, markedly different from what I was hearing in my Pro Tools system, which at the time was a native system, a Digi 001. Okay. I couldn't really technically afford, well, I could, but I didn't want to spend the money on an HD system at the time. But I was like floored at how, the horsepower that it gave him, one, and the clarity of the stereo field that, happened with the same session. Okay. Fast forward, I wind up getting an HD system, thinking my problem is mitigated. Excuse me, to bite my nail. But fast forward to now I'm already working in HD, mind you. I've done several projects with clarity. So talking to another friend, oh, well, you need a faster computer. This is like 2008. You need a faster computer to run a native system. So what do? I get a hot rodded system, Core i7, bam! I get a project from a very well-known, two very well-known producers. It's a live mix for a DVD. So I'm thinking I got this system all, it's got hot rodded. So I'm running Pro Tools 12. Not 12, Pro Tools 10 at the time. Still had 8 on my other system. Excuse me. And man, the same thing is happening. I'm like, what? So I ain't say nothing. They in here while I'm working on their mix. So I was like, when they leave, I'm going to save it and save it as an 8 system and pull it into HD. And listen, now, mind you, this is a native system on the other computer. Pull it into HD, the stereo field opens back up. So that whole theory that you need a fast computer went right out the window because I had a Core i7 hyper-threading system with 16 gig of RAM, and you could run 1,001 programs and it would not hiccup. Now, did Pro Tools slow down? No, it didn't. But what happened was the interface could not keep up for this reason alone. One word: jitter. Jitter. What is jitter? Jitter can be described as a type of distortion. Okay? A distortion that smears up your stereo field. Trust your ears. Okay? Trust them. If something sounds wrong, something is wrong. Okay? Let's just push gear to the side for a minute. If something sounds wrong, something is wrong. And not with your ears, it's with what system you're using. I thought I had a high-performing computer. It was running both video natively, video as well as at least, I don't want to lie, at least 30 plus tracks of audio. Okay? Surround, mix, mics, as well as an entire band. All caught on video and mic'd up as separate audio, okay? The system didn't slow down. What was causing my problem? Jitter. A type of distortion. Now, if you know anything about phase issues that you can have, that is what jitter is somewhat like. Somewhat akin to, I should say, to. It's an internal clocking issue that happens on the digital to analog conversion stage. Okay? The output. It happens on the output. Because if you know you recorded it going well, on the input, that digitized audio has to be reconverted coming back out. That's where you're having the problem with jitter. It's an internal, here's the key word, clocking issue. Jitter will manifest itself as audio as an indistinct stereo field, similar to phasing, lacking overall clarity. Boom. Boom. I've said to you all before, and I will say it again. If I had to start over again today, I would reach for universal audio. Universal audio. I said that from a gut standpoint, having heard it. Ears first. I'm saying it now from a technical standpoint. They're going to keep climbing the mountain, and they're going to be one of the top companies flattening a whole lot of other people who don't got it right. Okay? So keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on them. As one of the better companies in the future. Why? Because of their clocking technology and because their ability to control rather the amount of jitter that is introduced into your signal on the output. Now, what does jitter, what do I mean when I say clocking? There's two components, well, at least should be, two components or three. But sometimes, companies will cut corners without putting a quality clock oscillator, similar to the quartz clock that's in a quartz chip that's in a watch, in addition to their analog to digital chips, which have to do the conversion. Now look at where it says time deviation. The time before, the time after, the signal before, the signal after. Those changes happen on the input and the output. If you have any changes happening on the output, here's what your signal looks like afterwards. You see how the green and the yellow lines just don't match up? I mean, just don't match up. That's your signal on the output. So when what you're hearing is not actually what went in. The issue is not clocking on the way in. The issue is on the clocking coming out. So if the clock is weak and it can't handle all of the necessary calculations that must take place mathematically from a chip standpoint, you're going to have a problem with jitter. And the best way I could describe it is as phase. It has this phasing issue, or a smearing of the stereo field, if you will. Now, will it be dramatic? Maybe yes, maybe no. Depends on how the whole thing was recorded. But let me give you an example of what I experienced recently with HD. And this was my fault initially, because of I'm having two mics that when I had my assistant here, he didn't properly phase check the mics for drums like he should have. You know, I mean, no fault of his own, but I should have gone behind him and double checked it. I was mixing a recording for a friend, and that I had actually tracked, but I had assistants helping me that particular day, and I noticed that there was a bit of a phase issues with the overhead microphones. No problem. Can be somewhat mitigated, but no problem. But it became a problem come mix time, that I'm having this flashback to what happened many, many years ago. So again, what jumps into my mind? Let's see if it's a clocking issue. I gone out, and if you look on my any of my former videos, I did the video about the black line clock. I put that clock as the master clock for the whole system. The mids, as well as the low end, tightened up a lot. And I was kind of shocked. I was like, wow. Now, it wasn't like this, awe-inspiring, angel singing from heaven moment. But my ears told me immediately that there was a clearing up of certain frequencies, because it was an acoustic recording. Certain frequencies leapt forward, in a more dramatic fashion than others. So does doesn't an external clock work? To a degree. It is better to have it internally. Okay? Keeping that in mind. So why are some interfaces more expensive than others? A, research and development. Okay? B, the quality of both the analog to digital conversion and the D to A. And C, the overall dynamic range that they're offering on the output. Dynamic range is everything in digital, because don't forget, digital above all things affords us 144 decibels of dynamic range. But if your equipment can't keep up, I don't care how much you're afforded, if it can't keep up, it ain't gonna be able to make it to the finish line. You know what I mean? Because it's inferior. What causes it to be inferior is the analog to digital chips. Now, keeping that in mind, I'm gonna have links for all these companies that if you want, you could go and look at. And yes, Arthur, you're making a good point. UA uses 2 different clocks. You guys keep jumping to my summary, but yes, you're making a very good point right now. What was my thing I was about to say? There are about 2 to 3 companies that I think ESS Tech is one, Cirrus Logic, Analog Devices. ESS Tech has the Saber Shark chips that they've been giving to UA for a long time. Now, the whole Shark technology I've been familiar with since using what was called Triple Dat on a IBM system years ago, at least going 20 years ago. Okay, so I'm familiar with that technology from that perspective. But who is the market leader right now? Analog Devices, followed by Cirrus Logic, and followed by ESS Tech. A lot of these top companies, such as Antelope, Apogee, UA, to name those, RME, are sourcing their chips from these companies. So when, you say, okay, well, what's the difference in... Listen, if you intend to do any pro level work where you're going to be giving stuff over to clients and you're going to be billing them, if you can, reach for the mountaintop. That's why UA is making a killing right now. They have every piece of the market covered. Very few companies do. Apogee is just starting to get there, trying to cover with their new, I think the little Symphony 4 that they have out with touchscreen, the desktop model. But all these guys are sourcing their chips, their analog to digital chips, and these are quality conversion chips from one of those 4. Analog Devices, Cirrus Logic, ESS Tech, I think it is. And if you're putting that technology in your equipment, it's going to cost you something, because these guys spent a lot of time in research and development making sure that these chips are high performing for digital audio. Now, when you go on a website like Analog Devices and you look up the particular chip that maybe UA is using or Apogee is using in their interfaces, you will see the specification of the chip and why the chip was designed and for what purpose the chip is to be used. Guys, keep this in mind. Garbage in is garbage out. Period. Point blank, full stop. You're going to pay through the nose, but you're getting quality, pristine audio. Now, I know from sitting under a UA system was like, oh, snap. In many respects, it sounded better than my HD system. But then when you crack it open and you look inside, you know why. Now, Arthur made a good point just a minute ago. He says it uses 2 chips. Most of these companies do. They take the clocking chip, which causes the timing of all of the samples to line up properly. That's your job. The analog to digital, that's your job. The digital to analog, that's your job. You put 3 chips with all specific jobs. But some of these interfaces cut corners, which makes them cheaper. That's understood because you're trying to appeal to the masses. Everybody can't afford, when they're starting out, a Symphony or a UA system. You know, some people, work their ways up to that, But if you're trying to do somewhat serious work, serious client work, which was the reason why I went to HD, I was getting bigger jobs. My resume had an accolade or 2 that I could point to and charge people more money for. You think they're going to pay me more money for a Digi 001 system? Nope. I had to bite the bullet and spend the money for an HD system. Now, personally, I refuse to give Avid more money, even though they do have good technology and good chips in their system. I'm not going to keep giving them tens of thousands of dollars. I've done it once. That was enough for me. It's upgradable to 10. I'm still using 8. My clients are not complaining. Okay? But if I was starting out today and I had to put together the same quality of technology for a client today, it would most certainly be one of these, which are my 2 favorites. It would be Pro Tools HD using a Symphony IO or an Apollo X system. I deep dived on both of these interfaces this week, really deep dive, and did a lot of research on them. And when I tell you, man, that UA is killing it, I ain't lying, man. They are killing it. They are taking no prisoners, period, on any level. Anytime you are willing to put yourself out there to say, yeah, I got the quality crystal oscillator to take care of the clocking. I got quality A to D chips and D to A. Anytime you're willing to put yourself out there to say that, kudos to you. Kudos to you. Kudos to you. I mean, because they're realizing that the playing field is somewhat wide. That there's an evolution that has taken place in recording technology. So you either going to get on board or get out of the way. Now, my system, if I was starting out today, would consist of these two items. UA and Logic Pro X. UA Logic Pro X. I would have maybe Pro Tools system just to be laying around. But as far as I'm concerned, the playing field has been level. And I'm at the mountaintop, folks. I'm at the mountaintop. I've given Digi a lot of money, okay? And the onboard horsepower that HD affords, yes, is somewhat incomparable. You know, when you start adding the cards to it, you have a lot of horsepower available to you. But the playing field is being leveled. Now, the horsepower is necessary in the HD system if you're going to be doing 7.1 surround mixes. Excuse me. 7.1 surround mixes. Locking the picture. I've done those things, okay? You know, intense mixes where you have a lot of tracks and you need to be able to access higher track counts. Those things are then you in HD system is necessary. But for the guy that's just trying to get his feet wet on a pro level, UA is somewhat killing it now. And Apogee has been killing it for the longest. And if you know Apogee, they're known for their clocking technology. Now, are these the only two companies that are killing it? Nope. RME, Antelope, Lynx, Lynx Aurora system. There's so many. Personas. They're another one out there. Their interfaces. But see, now it becomes a buffet of greatness. You know what I mean? A buffet of greatness. So it's like, okay, well, what do I pick? Me, I'm going with the guy that's been in the game the longest. You know what I mean? I want Michael taking the last shot. Period. Apogee has been around a long time, y'all. Personas is just getting to the game. They may have put some money in R&D, but Apogee is a seasoned pro. You understand? So I got to reach for them. UA, you can't beat that history, man. You can't beat that legacy. You know, you just can't beat it. It's like the Boston Celtics. You know, they got that legacy that goes years back. You know, and you're reaching back on UA. You can't beat it, man. So you got to go with, you know, you may have to spend a little bit more cash, but at the same time, know that these companies ain't playing. They out there trying to kill it, man. They trying to, you know, take no prisoners. Does that make everybody else inferior? No. To each his own. You know, you got to go. And with all these systems that cost upwards of $1,000, you must do one of two things. Go to a studio that has the system, sit between the speakers and listen, or buy from a dealer and take it into your own place, do some critical listening, and if it don't work, you know how I feel. Goes back. Send the next one. That goes back. Send the next one. That goes back, because pro audio shops don't exist anymore. So what do? You got to put it in your environment and put it through its paces and know, yo, this is going to work for me or it's not. And if it's whack, send it back. Period. If it's not working to your specification as a professional, you know what you need to get out of your system. Some people are strictly 2-channel and vocal people. Fine. I'm not that guy. I need multiple channels. That's your thing, fine. Then everybody has their little niche. That is what is making you a very attractive proposition, because they have all bases covered. Don't forget, Apogee was focused primarily on Pro Tools users. You know, I had a friend of mine. I bought one of his interfaces from him when he was switching over from the Blue Faces to the Symphony system, the first iteration of Symphonies. And he was like, yo, you got to hear these things. I'm like, I ain't hearing nothing that I got to spend $4,000. I ain't giving Digi another nickel. I just didn't have the money. You know? But if I was starting out again today, then yeah, I would just definitely jump on board with UA. And the X series is killing. They got it all covered. The clock, which means the jitter is less than 70 picoseconds. Less than 70 picoseconds. That's why I use a clock in the sync IO in my system, because I was trying to eliminate all forms of jitter, and the HD system does a good job of that. But they're claiming numbers less than 70 one trillionth of a second. That's sick. That's sick. If you're gonna put yourself out there and say that's what my system can do, God bless you, man. It's worth every nickel. You just got to know what you're paying for. If you're gonna pay over $1,000, it makes sense to do a deep dive into the technology you are investing in. Other than that, you are just out there buying stuff all willy-nilly that you're gonna wind up replacing years from now. Period. As far as I'm concerned. So let's get to some statements right now. Oh yeah, Links for Life says the Motu 8 Pre, yes, uses the ESS Sabre. Yes, he's a lot of like Motu at them. They've been in the game for a minute. Motu is another company. And Arthur was saying about all the X series. Yes. Yes, sir. All the X series UA interfaces are killing. Period. V3Z says he just bought the X4 3 weeks ago and it's a beast. Yeah, I'm making a brother want to spend some money, man. Oh, man. Trusty Studio says that's his setup. X4 in Studio One. Good. Trusty says that he left Pro Tools 10 years ago and everyone said he was crazy. That's my... Nah. Logic is... Listen. Everyone is always going to have an opinion about the direction that one should go in. Okay, in terms of technology. You know, your mileage may vary as well as mine. But there are certain standards that the industry won't change. Ain't nobody eating up Avid's market share. Nobody. Period. Okay, so let's be clear on that. Pro Tools is here to stay. You must be able to, if you're a professional, able to offer your clients that as an option, or you are doing your clients a disservice. Okay? There's 3 systems that I run. I have Logic, Sibelius for my arranging clients, as well as Pro Tools for when I have to, interact with other studios. It's necessary in order for me to survive in what I'm doing. You have to be able to, give clients, exactly what they're looking for. It can't be like, oh, well, let me see if when folks is putting over $1,000+ in your hand, let me see you better do what you can do to get that money. If it means you got to sink 10 grand, sink the 10 grand. When you sink that 10 grand, you better find a way to make that money back. Period. Or you have to know that money that money you're spending is going to make you more money. You can't be in business without investing something. It's going to cost you something. But if it's going to cost you something, then reach for the mountaintop. So at least when you get and I've had these clients come to their wine. Ooh, they got their checkbook in their hand. Ooh, they whining and crying and writing the check at the same time. Write the check. Because I'm going to point to everything that I have to offer you. Why am I expensive? I'm expensive for this reason, and this reason. Okay? If you can't afford, then fine. You can't afford me. You go down to Pookie and them down the street. I had somebody do that to me one time. Oh, you're so expensive. That's fine. If I got to fix Pookie and them stuff, I'm charging you double. What did she do? She wound up coming back. Yo, listen to this. I listened to him like, who mixed this? Oh, that was, what kind of system she had? She told me what kind of system. I'm like, what? You a kid? Yeah. I was like, wow. How much she charge you? $60 an hour. I was like, $60? What? Thank you. To fix this, I will charge you. And when it was a situation, it was a flat rate. Flat rate. What did she do? Whine, cry, write the check. Thank you very much. Because you got to be able to, and this is why I have so much respect for UAs, because they're standing by their stuff. Apogee is standing by, and there's a whole lot of companies that are standing. They're not just running around giving out endorsements all willy-nilly. UA, I respect them because they got their R&D and their product development guy out there standing by his stuff. You know, he ain't delivering empty promises. He's the guy. I'm responsible for designing this. I know what's inside. I can tell you its quality. I can tell you we've taken it up a notch. God bless them, man. You know, if they make a whole bunch of money off these Apollo systems, God bless them. So I ain't mad at you. You know, Clip Wilson said Pro Tools is collecting dust on his computer. You better get busy, brother. Ain't nobody's Pro Tools system supposed to be collecting dust, man. Got me a guy cotton mouth. Spraying water all over the mic. Next thing you know, see a brother get electrocuted live. Be like, oh snap, I was on YouTube. Brother shocked himself to anyway. Shazam said he has a Studio One. Better for him than Pro Tools, and I just got Yeah, see, he said he got Pro Tools just as the clients want. If that's your flow, that's your flow. That's your flow. I ain't mad at you. When I used to have a guy that used to like to work in Reason. I only work in Reason. I say, okay, fine. Well, if you have to send me any files, do me a favor, just record dead space for all of the tracks in the beginning, join them all so that everything starts at 0. Because sometimes, if you're flying in vocals and the vocals happen 2 minutes into the cut, then you flying in vocals and then you got all this dead space in the beginning. So I would say just record dead space, consolidate the file and send the file like that. You have to find ways of making it work. I know that there's a file transfer system that you can use. I've tried it with film. Some guys get it to work, man. Every time it's a nightmare for me. You got to do these like, I forget the file. Listen, I take record dead space. I ain't got no time to be figuring out all this. Time is money, B. I ain't got no time to be trying to figure out, okay, well, what's this? No, thank you. Just record dead space. But if that's your flow, then that's good for you. But you definitely have to have that to offer the clients, because you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you are turning work away because you don't have the goods. Then that just makes you a poor business person. You have to, if you're not a one-dimensional business, okay, some people just have one thing that they work on and that's their thing, fine. But if you are a guy that, people call you for varying circumstances, then you got to make sure you can reach in the toolbox and get the tool. If you ain't got the tool, then you're going to wind up losing that gig. And that's what you don't want, So let's go to Arthur says the clock on his UAD XP makes my personas preamps over a soundbite. Yeah, man. You really, I have to say it this way. Unless you've experienced jitter to the point where you felt like you was in the middle of a nightmare, like I have, and I got the client sitting literally to the left of me, but I'm trying to play it off like ain't nothing going on. But my ears are like 5-alarm fire, danger, Will Robinson, like that. And I'm like, when these people leave, I'm pulling this thing into HD. Then you know that something that's on the inside. Bible says, like gospel, for all you gospel, something on the inside ain't working on the outside. That would be your clock in that interface. That clock is whack. It's a little chip. It's like imagine if you had a watch that just did not keep time. If the chip in your watch, that's what a clock is. It keeps all of the samples perfectly lined up in time. If the clock starts deviating, then you get certain conversions that are happening at different points. That is jitter. So you gotta be able to stand by your stuff. And listen, these people were paying me. It wasn't a cheap gig. That was an expensive gig. So I reached for that too thing, and I had this hot rodded system. Yeah, it's a computer. It's a computer. Computer don't mean jack squat. The computer was keeping up. The interface was unable to. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're going out to buy. I say buy UA or Apogee. Apogee for the clocking technology. My Rosetta is still killing it. Still, after all these years, still killing it. You know what I mean? It's just a sound. It just, you know, when things line up, your ear is going to tell you, wow, this is pretty straight. You know, there's no smearing of the image. Trust your ears. Trust your ears. You know? Shazam, you said export AFF files. Man, what was I working on? Yeah. And these were some pretty high powered folk. The film, if you ever get a chance to see it, I had a chance to do some tech work on it as well. All Me, The Life and Times of Winfried Rembert. It's an independent film that I worked on like about, that's 2009. Right? And film guys, you know, because they may be sending you dailies. And if you get dailies, it has like a Symphony reference. So they will be exporting stuff and you know, there's a file attachment that goes with the visual that they want to be able to pop things back in at a particular point. Man, you know, and that, you know, I attribute that to the fact that I don't work a lot in film. So if you don't know, and I didn't know, and I had to get people in here, yo, can you help me figure this thing out? I ain't gonna pass that money up, you know, but yeah, that's the thing. You got to know. I don't know. Just call me impatient with stuff like that. You know, I wasn't outside of my element, but then again, I was from a technical perspective because I had never had to take an external XML file, and it was a process. It was a process, you know. So I was definitely baptism by fire for me. Definitely baptism by fire. You know, I got through it, but yeah, man. Yeah, it's one of them situations, B. Let's see. Where do we go? What do I think about, this is Star Studios. What's up, brother? What do I think about the Cranborne Audio 500? All right, it's an interface 500 and whoa, you saying a lot there, brother. Digital connection summing mixer that can use. I've never heard of it. You're gonna have to give me a link to that. I can't offer any opinion about, you know, for Star Studios, about the Cranborne Audio 500 R8. You know, with me, simplicity always works. You know, the more simpler something is created, you know, the better my brain can wrap its head. My brain can wrap itself around the whole technological perspective of how it's going to function. You know, which when you think about it, that's what's making the whole UA thing the bomb diggity right now, because they solved the whole clocking issue internally. Solve that, 99% of your problems go away. You ain't got to worry about having a Big Ben clock. Well, the Big Ben clock that Apogee offers is necessary in big digitally interface studios. Don't get me wrong, but clocking an external source, you know, just arbitrarily, no, it's better for it to be a part of the interface. This way, you know, on the D to A coming out. So you clocking stuff generally from a single oscillator, but at the same time, that audio still has to come out of the interface. How is it coming out of the interface? What level of quality are you getting? You got to keep those things in mind. So, let's see. Let's go. People try to fix jitter with MS tools. Yeah, right. That is funny. You can't polish doo-doo. You know what I mean? You can't polish. Like I said, if you find yourself in a situation where your eyes is like $2 silver, you know, and you like trying to figure out what's going on with my sound, I know I recorded this properly, then you'll know. You got to be able to point to the problem. And the problem is the interface. You know? Oh, okay. Arthur says that he's using a Big Ben for scoring. Good. Yeah, those things are still useful to this very day, and still going for a pretty penny on Reverb and eBay as well. Oh, Shadam, you did a video on what? On your I gotta check it out. The Cranborne? You know, say yay or nay. I'd like to check that out. E-Man is in there. Yo, what took you so long getting here, B? We've been at it for a minute. Let me check the time. You just rolling up in here. And we like, what, almost an hour in, B? Where you been, man? I'm glad you're here, man. E-Man is in the house today, y'all. How you doing? Good to know. Okay, what interface do you know operates off the field programmable gamma? Whoa. You're asking a brother a question that is so far above my pay grade. I don't know. I don't even know what that is, man. Field programmable gamma array. See, again, I'm approaching it from this perspective. If you got to start throwing acronyms on stuff, as a manufacturer I'm talking about, when manufacturers start throwing around acronyms about technology that they invented, head for the door. Period. Head for the door. They ain't trying to do nothing but gas you. That's all they trying to do, gas you, so you go out and you buy it and you be like, I had that happen to me one time. I showed up at Sam Ash. I'll never forget the day I dropped the first grand I ever dropped on a piece of software. And went there with the intent, and I'm going way back, to buy an audio media system for Pro Tools. This was like Pro Tools 3 at the time, okay? For a new bus system, which was my Mac 2 VX, all right? The brother's like, nah, man, you got to get this new system, triple that. You can do real time, this, that. Well, anyway, he gassed me, he sold me. Psst. What did I wind up buying a year later? Pro Tools. So anytime, you got to be leery about new technology. And that just was, I didn't do my, what's they say, due diligence. I should have did my own research, and as opposed to letting him gas me, I should have just went and did my own research. I knew I came in there with one intent, and he sold me on something else, which was markedly much higher. I think I paid nearly $1,300 for that day. So don't let nobody gas you into stuff that's like, you get it home and then you find out it's whack, so just keep that in mind. Neo Gamer, what's up, my brother? Glad you are here. Okay, Pro Tools operates on, again, I don't know, everybody approaches, okay, I'm still back on the whole field programmer gamma array thing. I'm gonna put it to you like this. Excuse me. When you're a professional or an aspiring professional, I feel like this. If you know you're gonna be charging a client a serious piece of money for some work, provide them with the best options. Provide them with industry standard options. If you can't, then be very careful of how much you charge for. I'll give you an example. I'm giving y'all some. I even covered this about somebody who threatened to sue me, a client. And I know what the beef was. She was one of the ones at the time, her manager, they were crying about writing the check. Okay, I get that. But I'm like, you don't have to work with me. You can work with anybody. This is what I charge because this is the service I'm providing. Fine. She, I did the work. She signs off on the mixes. Everything is fine. Walks away, charts, mix, bang, boom, bop. 2 years later, I got stories like up the wazoo about stuff like this. 2 years later, hey, I need you to remix it. Huh? Remix it? No problem. Yeah, that'll be. What do you mean that'll be? I'm like, you signed up on the mixes. Yeah, well, my producer, and she's moving into in Atlanta. My producer says that this wasn't done well. Really? I'm like, I recorded this as best of my ability. You signed up on everything. I know what I'm doing. It was recording in Pro Tools HD and everything. Back when I had first gotten the system. Then she tells me, so I said, well, what system is he using? Logic. Now, this was Logic 8, I think, at the time. He trying to... This fool was trying to open up Pro Tools HD files and Logic, and he tells her that I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, what is wrong with people? So I was like, what system you use? Pro Tools. I was like, he tried to open your files? Yeah, he couldn't open them. He said that you did. I'm like, no, he's going to have to find out. I said, I can convert the files, but I'll have to charge you. Charge me. You didn't do your job. I didn't do my job. You signed off on everything. What are you talking about? I didn't do my job. I'll sue you. I'm like, sue me. You can. It's your prerogative. But guess what? I got a document right here with your signature on it. You want to sue me? I think I know who's going to win this argument. But come on, folks. Come on. Your stuff either works for you or you doesn't or does not. If you and see, this is why I had initially upgraded to HD, because I knew I wanted to do a different level of work and charge more money. Okay, film and commercials and radio spots and all the things that I were doing at the time, I knew required you to be able to transfer sometimes entire sessions. Now, the one good thing about Pro Tools is that regardless of whatever level you're on, the sessions are all compatible. But please, in the case of this woman and her manager, you cannot open Pro Tools files on Logic. You cannot click a Pro Tools icon and expect it to magically open, and that's what they were doing. So, I got stories, y'all. I got stories. One time I had a client. I know I'm going off, but I'm just having a trip down memory lane. I'll never forget. I was in the middle, and I was practicing one morning. It was like about noonish, about 12:30. And then my door rings. Beep. I ain't expecting nobody. I'm up here. No, I had the schedule I keep. I practice every day about saying that. Beep. Who this? I look out. Oh, snap. What you doing? I'm like, hey, man, how are you? What are you doing here? Hey, I'm doing good. You got those mixes that you did for me? Huh? I'm like, what? What mixes? You know, a couple of years back when we did that session. What? I know. Why? What? Why you don't have... I don't archive client mixes. I give you 60 days to come and recover your files and just not archive. So then he's standing at me staring at me. We having a staring contest. I'm like, anything else? No, I just want to stop. I was in the neighborhood. I thought I'd just ask you. Oh, okay. Glad to see you. Close the door. I'm like, are these people serious? That 2 years later, you coming up talking about you got these mixes. Now, like, mind you, like I said, I work with all types of clients. I've chosen to cater to a certain type of clientele. You know, I've worked with big and small, but I've chosen to work with people that are on their way up. And I've worked with quite a few that are on their way up and have gone to the top. You know, and he was a very, very talented, very, very talented producer. But Jesus, he was a few fries short of a Happy Meal. You turning up on my doorstep 12:30 unannounced talking about, do I have files to? No, I don't. So, stories, y'all. Stories. Anyway, back to the point. E-Man, Antelope discrete for Antelope is, and as well as Lynx, are two of the better options if you're not gonna go with UA or Apogee. You know, they provide quality conversion as well as clocking technology. And then you got to realize that these companies, Lynx is been around for a long time. You know, I remember I had a friend of mine, John Aschenbrenner. He used to write do cues for the soap operas back in the day. I think The Guiding Light, that was his gig. Made a ton of money doing that too. But I used to frequent his studio a lot. And he had a link system, which was the only way you could link together two 24-track machines with, again, a crystal quartz oscillator. But it was a dedicated clock, master clock, that you had to feed SMPTE into. Pilot tones would go into the system and control the capstan motors of both recorders. So, yeah, they've been, Lynx has been around for a minute, man. So these are companies, again, if I have to reach back, you got to reach back at guys that been doing it for a while, you know. So, Gate array. No, I haven't heard. Field programmable gate array. Again, I'm not big on all these acronyms, man, because tried and true always works. You know, it's like if imagine if the kid that tried to gas Michael Jordan that time when he was coming into NBA. Oh, I could beat Michael 1-on-1. Michael showed up at the practice, was like, I'll torch you any day of the week. And then some other clown tried to, clown Michael and he challenged him to horse. It's just that when a guy and in this case, I'm using those basketball analogies, but when someone has been doing something for a while and doing it well, watch your mouth. You know what I mean? I'm just saying with the basketball, but sometimes, like, I'm not saying personas is bad or good. I'm saying I wouldn't buy it for the reasons stated earlier, because personas is just getting there in terms of providing quality products from a research and development standpoint. They're new jacks. They got to look up to Apogee. They have to, and UA. They'll that's what they are aspiring to. They have a long way to go before they become like, the industry standard. So if I'm starting out, I have to reach back at the tried and true. So just keeping those things in mind. I mean, yeah, folks come up with these acronym field programmable. What's it? You said gate array. What does that mean? It sounds nice, but what does that mean? What is that doing for the audio? What does that mean? So like I said, sometimes they throw these companies will throw acronyms around, and it technically doesn't mean much of anything if you can't explain it from a perspective like of what we're talking about. What is it doing for the analog to digital stage, the digital to analog stage, as well as the clocking technology? What is it doing for it? Yeah, Arthur, you said the 24 track MCIs clocked together. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It takes me back to that point in time, where it was slow the cap stands down. If because you had what they called with 24 track machines, you had wow and flutter, and sometimes if one machine was too fast, you would have to slow the cap stand down on the other one so that they remained in time with one another, So, yeah, keeping those things in mind. Now, E-Man, you just said something about the dynamic range. Let's jump forward because I was blabbing. On the output, the digital to analog conversion, getting back to our original point, and I'm going to wrap it up after this. That's the game changer right there. That's why UA, as well as Apogee, as well as I'm sure Lynx and Antelope, that's why they're killing it. Your clocking is one issue, but the digital to analog conversion on the way out is going to give you the dynamic range you're looking for. That comes from the type of D to A chips that you're using. And I have found through my research that most of the more expensive interfaces are using chips by Cirrus Logic, Analog Devices, and I think ESS Tech is another big company that a lot of these more high-end, interfaces are using. And here's a truth be told circumstance as well. If you really want to know a lot about quality audio, the only thing you have to do is look at what are the audiophile guys listening to. That'll tell you everything you need about who's killing it. You won't find all of the professional audio companies listed in their choices. What you will find is the type of chips that are going into audiophile grade equipment. That will tell you everything you need to know about what's going to give you pristine quality audio in and out of your system. Because some of these, I had a friend of mine, my accountant as a matter of fact, and he's an audiophile guy. I mean, his system has to be at least about $5,000-$6,000. And guess what? It's not even CDs. It's a turntable system. But his conversion, and he has this fancy digital receiver and all this business, because he likes to listen to music in a very pure. And when I tell you, you're listening to classic recordings coming off of his system, it's like, oh my God, it's like I'm sitting right in the studio, transported back in time. Because these audiophile guys know what quality audio sounds like. So if you want any indication as to what they're listening to, then that's what you that's where you take your cues from. But we're gonna wrap up with two of my faves. Like I said, these two are killing it right now: the Universal Audio X series, as well as the Apogee Symphony series. Apogee is a little bit more flexible in that they have the I/O cards that you can buy for it, which costs a fortune. If you have it, God bless you. I say reach for it. If not, the UA system is just as good. It has the horsepower as well as quality A to D conversion, D to A conversion. Dynamic range is killing. And the clocking technology has jitter on lock. So, UA, my man say, salute. I salute you. I salute you. They got it on lock. So, I'll take a couple more questions and then I'm going to sign off. Trusty Studio says, is it better to leave your gear on or turn it off when not in use? Preamp, I'm hearing and seeing different things. Everybody has an opinion. I turn mine off. Why? I have a commercial Con Ed account and it costs me on sometimes upwards of $500-$700 a month just to keep the lights on. So I technically can't afford it. Now, from a financial perspective. Now, I remember, there's this thing that people say, like when you turn things on and off, there's this initial jolt of voltage that goes through the system that will cause the system components to be compromised over time. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. In all of the years that I have been doing this, I've never experienced it. And most of the studios, including pro studios, the only thing that I would see that they would leave on would be the console. And that's for, a whole lot of reasons, especially if you're doing client work. And consoles like SSLs have mainframes that you can't shut down because, you don't want that jolt of electricity going through the whole mainframe and you wiping out client mixes, and that's a headache. So you don't want that. But the only thing I've ever seen that remained on in outside studios was the console. So let's go back to B3Z. Says only buy Rack Apollos during the holiday season. They give out free satellites during that time. Okay. We will keep that in mind. Oh, Arthur said that's how he got his satellite. All right. And E-Man says Focusrite is dope too. Yes. But, what I noticed about Focusrite? For using it with Pro Tools, I found it to be a little bit more expensive by and large than UA and Apogee. So if you're going to be doing HD or HDX, you got to expect to pay some dough. Because one thing you can't keep this in mind. If any of you are thinking about going HD, listen, ain't no need you going HD and you got whack cabling. Nope. It's a waste of money. That's like buying a Ferrari and putting whack gas in it. You're going to jack up your engine. So why would you put bad cabling? You have to worry about the cabling. You have to patch bay it because it needs to be tie lined to, a circumstance that's extremely flexible. headphone system included. You know, I'm the type of person that likes a more me system. So I need the access to the inputs and outputs in an easy patch-based sort of way. You know, and I'm finding that with Focusrite, they're so focused on the Dante technology that they've broken it down into such minute pieces that when you take the whole thing together, if you're going to be doing file transfers over Dante and all this other networking and all that, it's expensive. I've done the calculation on it, and you got to be able to make that money back. You know, so by and large, man, yeah, if you go in HD, man, don't skim. Don't skim. You know, you got to make sure that you take care of everything. And that's the only beef I got with Focusrite now. And I like Focusrite, don't get me wrong. It's just that, you know, when you break it all the way out, it's so ridiculously expensive. You know, and I'm not ready to spend that kind of money. You know, a brother is about ready to retire. I ain't playing. I gotta worry about counting my coins, man. I ain't got no time to be giving these people no more money. My stuff's got to be able to ride it out. Now, with that in mind, does it mean that I won't constantly try and upgrade as time goes on? No, but every piece purchased is a tool. So the tools have to serve a purpose. You know, you got to know where you're going. You know, you got to know where you're going. And Rowan German says, "Hey, Rowan, what's up, man? I'm glad you are here. You're kind of late to the party too, brother. But I'm glad you showed up, man. You can use a Rosetta with the newer Pro Tools HD setup. Not sure. Although I have heard of folks with the Rosetta like the 800s. They were having a time getting, you know, sometimes things. See, that's another reason why I just like all-in-one systems that work. You can't be having like your stuff going down in the middle of a client session. That is the surest way. I told you about my little story with ADATs, right? You know, I don't know if y'all got a minute, but I, you know, had a client one time. They showed up the tapes. They went, "Oh my, yeah, I'm gonna take my tapes." I was like, "Nah, I think you should leave the tapes here," because I know how ADATs, they were very touchy, you know, back in the day. They took the tapes home and they brought the tapes back and the tapes were wiped. They're going to say, "What did I do?" I ain't do nothing. Y'all probably rest the tape on something that demagnetized it. I'm getting error messages. So when you are marrying, you know, somewhat or equipment that has the potential to become incompatible, be careful, because your stuff can't be going down in front of, that's like a kid that's showing out at the store, man. You can't be having your stuff going down, the client sitting right there behind you. You're doing, "Oh, give me a minute while I work on this." I ain't got no time for that. So that's the reason why I would stick with tried and true. You know, stick with tried and true. Arthur said he ain't paying for cables, always expensive. So mundane yet so needed. Yes, sir. Absolutely. People don't calculate, man, the amount of money you will spend on cabling. And unless you're a person that's handy with a soldering iron, you can expect to pay a fortune to have someone do it. You know, and there's people that do it for a living, man. But, yeah, God bless you, man. If you can do that, man, God bless you. Yes, okay. So if there's no further questions, I will wait for one or two, and I want to make sure that I didn't overlook someone, because, you know, sometimes I get so many questions, you know, I feel like I overlook people, and I don't want to do that. Okay. Okay. Arthur, you talking about DA 88s and 38s? Yep. Oh, yeah, tapes with stretch. That's another thing. You know, the stress on tapes. Whew. Man, so y'all are dating yourself. Arthur, I know you definitely. Well, Arthur, you said you 40 what? 48? I think you said earlier. Yeah, so you got some time behind you, brother. Yeah, but it's all good, man. It's all good. So, let's summarize. Okay? Jitter is not our friend. It will cause phasing issues. You will think that you're losing your mind while you're listening to your mix, and it's not you. It is your interface crapping out on you. So at the first sign of something sounding phasey, run to the nearest pro audio dealer, swap that bad boy out. That's the problem. Two of my favorites, if I was starting out again today, would be the Universal Audio X series. I can't speak for any of the others because I didn't do a deep dive into the other technologies, but I do know that Universal Audio addressed the issues with three components: the crystal oscillator, which is the clock that's controlling the sampling time, as well as they have provided you with quality analog to digital and the critical digital to analog chips that one would need to give you 120 plus decibels of that 144 decibel dynamic range that is given to us. So kudos to all of you UA owners. I have utmost respect for the company, and you should get a lot of mileage without having to swap. As long as the technology doesn't change where you need to swap it out, you're good for a while. So Mogami Gold cable is the way to go. Yes, sir. So with that in mind, that's my summary. Two of my favorites: UA, Apogee at the top of the list, and Jitter is not our friend. Okay. If you needed to have any further information in the description below, I will encode all of the companies that I think it's important for you to know. Analog Devices as well as Cirrus Logic. These are companies that are providing some of the best chips for these devices. And I think it's important for you to know what's going inside of your unit. You know, it's providing you with the sound, you know, and you got to be happy with what's coming out. You know, and I can tell you from experience, the speed of your computer is not as important as the conversion and clocking technology in your interface. Okay? Keeping those things in mind. Oh, okay. Shazam. Yeah, and y'all should check it out too. I'm going to show you a comment. Shazam says, don't forget to check out the video on the Cranborne audio. I'm going to do that. Bro. I'm going to do that. Yeah, because I need to know. I mean, like I said, when you go to the AES, there's so much happening. But I think with me, when I go to these shows, it's more like I'm tunnel vision. I know who I want to talk to and who I want to see. So that's what I go there and do. So Arthur, you're saying I use them and have 12-year-old. Y'all got some stuff, man. Y'all are funny. Oh, Links for Life. Here's a good one. Yeah, I think we need to. Yeah, this is another good. I hope you all are looking at the comments. Apogee uses the renowned ESS. Yeah, ESS Tech, I think is the company. The Saber 32 Ultra DAC. Yeah. Again, you got to get to know what's in these units, man. Because that's what's separating the men from the boys out there. You know, what's inside the unit. Y'all already know how I feel about what's inside. You know. And Trusty Studio says, you're a rich man. He said he's blessed. That's cool. I'm glad the interaction. I like to see that, guys. I really appreciate that. And same as Motu. So, folks, I'm going to close with this. Like I said, Jitter is not our friend. UA and Apogee are at the tops of my list. And also, go to my community tab, please, and check out the spec that I listed for the Show Me Your Space series. I think the community grows beyond what I'm doing. It grows beyond what I'm doing into you all interacting with one another by virtue of being able to see what you're doing, such as people like Shazam, who is an iPad producer. his perspective on what he's doing and why. Then it may enlighten you in a particular way as well as myself, because I don't work in that fashion. The only way for us to have better interaction with one another is by intelligent dialogue. Not just opinion, but stuff that's factual. So if we can learn from one another, I think I would prefer to be a facilitator of such a circumstance by allowing you all to, on these live streams, what we can do is look at one another's spaces as well as have a dialogue about how and why you work in that particular fashion. And I'm really interested. So go to the community tab, look up the Show Me Your Space series. The spec on it doesn't need to be great or spectacular. I've listed how you can do it, and it should be easy for all of us to get there. Bruno Rene Garcia says, thanks and be safe. All right, my brother, I appreciate you being here. I'm just seeing your name for the first time, and hopefully you can catch voice cracking, catch any of the other information on the replay, but I really appreciate you, Bruno, being here. Okay, bro. So with that in mind, stay safe, exercise your right to protest, but do not be an anarchist. Okay. All right. And take care during these troubling times. And I hope everyone, each and every one of you, have a good and safe afternoon as well as week. All right. You guys take care.